to acknowledge that I'm joining you today from the unceded ancestral territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. And I want to acknowledge and thank with gratitude and respect the original caretakers of these lands. Today's topic is about social media, and we have two social media experts who are going to provide a presentation today. Before we jump in to that presentation, I did want to sort of connect the dots and let folks know and highlight a PHSA campaign that connects communications and social media in an Indigenous space. One of the campaigns from PHSA and Transcare BC has really highlighted a strengths-based approach to information delivery. The campaign is called We Are Allies, and the We Are Allies campaign features stories from trans, two-spirit, and non-binary people to really demonstrate how we can all play a role in supporting these youth. And if you haven't had a chance to check it out already, I will pop a link in the chat. Today, I have the privilege of introducing our presenters as well. Olivia Patrick is the communications assistant at the Women's Health Research Institute. She's been with us for a little over a year. She has a BA in professional communications and a minor in public relations from Toronto Metropolitan University. Olivia has a passion for all things media, communications, and music related. And in her free time, she enjoys being outside and doing fun activities such as camping, cycling, and Pilates, and spending quality time with friends and family. And I happen to know Olivia is also like a youth volleyball coach in her spare time, always on the move. Anastasia Lirani is one of two comms coordinators at the BC Children's Hospital Research Institute. Before joining the team full-time in 2023, she started as a work-learn student for about 2 years. Yay, career laddering. She holds a Bachelor of Arts degree in psychology with a minor in creative writing from UBC, with a background in communications and design. Anna channels her passion towards effectively bridging the gap between research and the public. And in her free time, she likes to go dancing and watch cult classic movies. Oh, very cool. And I just want to acknowledge a colleague of mine here today. I'm Nicole Presley. I'm the manager of research and knowledge translation at the Women's Health Research Institute. So communications is within my portfolio, and we're lucky to have another sort of co-facilitator here today. Alan, if you want to jump on and introduce yourself.
Sure. Thanks so much, everyone, for coming and for this Lunch and Learn. Happy to be here. I'm Alan Worsley, and I'm the interim manager of the BC Children's Hospital Research Institute communications team. And just a delight to be able to share what we've got for you today. And both Nicole and I will be available at the end for any questions as well. And with that, I'll leave it with Anna and Olivia.
Yeah, just a quick, before I pass the mic over to Anna and Olivia, just a quick reminder that if you do have questions, please don't put them in the chat. Please put them in the Q&A. That will allow us to address our attention to your questions. And I believe Ashley has enabled a fun ranking function. So we'll see if that works. Anna and Olivia, over to you.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Alan and Nicole, for that lovely introduction. So without further ado, let us jump in. Social media. For many of us, social media has transformed how we communicate with each other, both professionally and personally. It can be a great way to reach people who you may not be able to reach before, especially through traditional channels such as print media, news outlet, and also email marketing. Now, for researchers, it's an opportunity to reach audiences far beyond their academic sphere. However, we acknowledge that using social media effectively requires strategy, purpose, and a good understanding of this landscape, which, as you know, is constantly evolving.
Now, whether you're new to social media or looking to refine your approach, today's session will help you define social media channels and their role in research and health communication, learn strategies for an effective social media presence. Thirdly, explore current trends and challenges that we face as professional communicators and examine the future of social media and communicating research. So first, we'll dive into defining social media channels and some of the overarching aspects of how you can communicate your work. So if your goal is recruiting participants, reaching diverse groups for surveys, trials, and research, highlighting research, so announcing new publications, summarizing findings, amplifying media, sharing news stories or research breakthroughs, combating misinformation, providing accurate evidence-based health insights, and raising awareness for promoting understanding of stigmatized health topics like menopause, abortion, postpartum, child vaccinations, and mental health are all great areas where social media can be used as a supportive tool. And now that we understand why social media matters, let's take a look at the platforms that the WHRI and BCCHR are using to discuss their specific roles in research communication. So firstly, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter, and YouTube are all platforms that both of our institutions use on a daily basis. And it's important to recognize that social media is always changing. As communication professionals, sometimes when we feel really good about a certain post that we put time into and we feel like it's going to really engage with our audience and it's going to perform really well, sometimes it doesn't. So it's important to recognize that on social media, things are not always perfect or how we originally plan the engagement to be. So it can be kind of a comforting thing that as social media experts, like Anna and I, we're constantly learning and evolving and trying to pivot our approach with social media as we go. So our first platform that we're going to discuss today is Instagram. And Instagram is a great platform to really visually communicate with your audience, such as photos, short form videos, such as reels. And the demographic on Instagram is a bit of a shorter demographic from 18 to 35, and is great for general public and public awareness posts. And is a great platform for community engagement through posts and stories. Anytime I post content on Instagram, I always repost it on our Instagram stories and provide the link so it's super seamless for folks to be notified that there's a new post on our social media. And also is a great platform to share public-facing news, events, achievements, community stories, and both of our members' professional highlights. If they were receiving grant funding or awards, we love to amplify and re-celebrate their successes, and then usually link to their research and further work. And some examples of how we use Instagram is for the BCCHR. Here is a recap of some high school students that were participating in the 2024 mini med school program, who are working on site under the supervision of world-class researchers. So this is calling to action and kind of recapping their program and further gaining awareness and recruitment for the next intake. And for the WHRI, we're recapping members who are recent recipients of the 2024 Michael Smith Health Research BC C2 and Research Awards. And this was a really exciting post to see, as a big number of the recipients were WHI members. So we were really excited to highlight their success, congratulate them, and then re-amplify their amazing research. Now, there are some pros and cons to consider when thinking about Instagram. And one of the major positives is that it's very visually engaging. And I think in a world where there's a lot of information out there, communicating with people in your audience in a very visual, clear way is a very strong thing to do. And a con of this is unpredictable visibility of your posts. We will discuss this throughout the presentation, but algorithms are constantly changing. So now on Instagram, it's no longer in chronological order of your algorithm. So it's what Instagram deems your followers will like to see first. So a great rule of thumb is within your community and people that you post and connect with, to try and like, share, comment on your community posts to just support and amplify their work. And usually that helps boost your posts in the algorithm. And next, we're going to touch on Facebook. And Facebook has a bit of a broader demographic between 18 and 65, and is a great platform to promote public events, public news that you want to re-amplify, if there's a public study where you're wanting to garner participants and people to be knowledgeable of what you're working towards. And it's another great platform to really target advertising for study recruitment, and really plays into the play-to-pay model that Anna will touch on later in our presentation. And sharing individual accomplishments and community stories is another area in which Facebook, both of our institutions, focus on, kind of really re-highlighting personal and person-based stories, really connect with the audience. And some examples of how we both use Facebook is with the WHRI. We recently had our wellness exchange. So then we used it to really amplify our work, highlight our speakers, our talking points. And then also on Facebook, we hosted our live stream on Facebook as well. And this was a really seamless way of promoting on one platform and then hosting it there as well. And then we had the recorded videos that we reused on YouTube. And for the BCCHR, here we are celebrating the outstanding achievement of their investigator, Dr. Kirk Schultz, who was awarded the prestigious Geoffrey L. Hammond Lectureship. And this post acts as a preview to an existing web story that was posted on their website, and then links and directs folks to read the longer form on their website. Now, some strengths and weaknesses to consider on Facebook is that it's a great platform for sharing news, updates, and institutions or member milestones. But there is a growing spread of misinformation surrounding women's and children's health, and fake news can be present on Facebook pages or posts. And every now and again, there can be some spam or negativity in the comments. So it's really important to keep in mind that when posting about health research, sometimes there can be bots or things that get posted. So it's important to really clearly cite your research work and link to the work that you're referencing. So it's really communicating with your audience that you're a trusted source and your affiliations. So our next platform is my personal favorite, LinkedIn, and is a great platform and is really growing in kind of like the professional space with both of our institutions, and is a great way to connect with professionals, academics, funders, policymakers, and really networking with your internal and external community, connecting with colleagues, organizations, potential employees and employers. A lot of the times we're posting volunteer opportunities, career postings, really amplifying what opportunities are available in both of our institutions in a very academic, professional geared space. And it's a strong way to connect with your institution's internal network. Within the WHRI, it always flags people who are affiliated with institution. So it's a really handy, nice way to connect with people. And it's also a great way to publish articles or reports with research and health community. And some examples of how we use LinkedIn, as I said before, really highlighting members' accomplishments, congratulatory posts for grants and funding. And here for the WHRI, we have a recent job posting that got a lot of really great engagement. People were liking and sharing and reposting it. And then for the BCCHR, we're highlighting the work for the researchers at the BC Children's Childhood Cancer Research Program, specifically on the BC Pediatric Personalized Oncogenomics study. That is text-based posts that's similar to the previous example, acts as a preview to a larger web story that exists in the BCCHR website. So again, relinking and amplifying the amazing work that's happening is kind of a cornerstone of all the social media work that we do, is really promoting the work from within. And again, some strengths and weaknesses to consider when using LinkedIn is a strength is that it's a great platform for networking opportunities, professional development, connecting with research, news, and updates. And a con to consider is privacy concerns. So what I try and do when I'm communicating on there, if I'm highlighting individual or a member, to really focus on their professional topics and achievements, and to make sure that we're not communicating anything personal or might be a privacy concern. And our next platform that we're going to discuss is Twitter. And a similar platform in the case of the audience that you're communicating with researchers, academics, policymakers, and kind of connect with an external audience as well with highlighting news and updates. And Twitter can be a very great way of communicating quickly with your audience in a very short form manner and linking to internal work on your website, web stories, bigger, longer form work that you want to amplify with your community. And then some examples of how we use Twitter is we have a post highlighting Dr. Katrina Hittman's accomplishments, being selected as one of the 2024 CHR System Impact Fellows in BC, highlighting her research focus on reproductive health equity. This was a really exciting post to share with the community. We posted this across all of our platforms. And what we kind of seen on Twitter is that it's been kind of feeling a slow decline of engagement, and users are kind of moving over to LinkedIn per se or other platforms online that they connect more with now is what we're finding. But it's still a good way to communicate important topics. And a con can be folks moving over to other platforms, and the character limit can make it difficult to properly communicate all this amazing work in a really condensed form. So anytime I'm writing posts, just like really making sure I'm not changing the meaning or taking away the significance of the topic. And our last platform is YouTube. And this can be a great way to really communicate with your audience and really repurpose the either videos, as this Lunch and Learn will be up on our YouTube channel later this week. And it's a great way to really archive your videos and webinars and Lunch and Learns and BC research rounds that we have in a really condensed way, in a really easy way people can go to YouTube and really see all the content that you have to really repurpose. And it's another great way to really just reuse the content that you're already creating, and then you can upload it as well. And some pros and cons of YouTube is it's a great way, as I said before, to archive your events, playlists, and everything like that. Some other uses of it as well is it's great to archive resources. It's great for accessibility. Features like closed captions, translations, and audio transcriptions make content accessible to all users and explaining complex topics in a digestible video format. I'm a very visual person, so having that audio and visual element with communication media is a very helpful tool to communicate with. And then we'll just move on to the next slide. And then, so tackling social media, now that we've covered the platforms and their roles, creating your own social media account, there are important considerations for research groups to keep in mind. So we're going to explore those next. So really asking, what is your purpose when making your social media account, and kind of really being aware of the time and who you're wanting to communicate with and share. So a couple points to keep in mind are, what do you want to share? Who do you want to reach? Who needs to be involved? And how can you reach them? More important things to consider. Now, firstly, who do you want to share to? Is it communicating professional success, research findings, or news? Is it trying to call for research participants, highlighting team members, events, or updates? And with that in mind, who do you want to reach? Is it researchers, academics, allied health professionals, institutions? Is it students, research trainees, the general public, patients, families, or parents? And with all of this in mind, if you know who you want to share to and who you want to reach, the next two steps will help you action your social media goals. So the third point is, who do you want to be involved? So really thinking about who needs to be involved to action these goals on social media with team members. So assigning roles for content creation, posting, and engagement. Thinking about who can you collaborate with on this. So considering who you partnered with, such as organizations and institutions, to guide how you approach and use social media, and how can you reach them. So really thinking about who's your target audience and what best platform aligns with your goals, and promoting your strategy. So plan and develop a content calendar and choose the best social media platform that aligns with your goals and audience. And if you're unsure about answering any of these questions, please reach out to your communications team for consultations, and we'd be more than happy to chat about more of these steps and really consider if we can amplify your work on our existing platforms and kind of take that effort and re-amplify your work. I'll pass it over to Anna.
Olivia. All right, folks, now we're going to talk about what happens once you are 100% certain that launching a social media account is what you need. We invite you to take a look at the items listed on the screen here, and you're more than welcome to think of this as a checklist and how you could build your own platform. Before we move on, I would like to give you a quick disclaimer. These suggestions and everything we've talked about in this presentation, these are taken directly from our own social media practices. They've been proven to work for us, but please keep in mind that there are also so many more aspects of social media that we ourselves are still learning to implement every single day. So with that being said, let's get back to the slides. You may notice that some of these items, such as choosing the right platform or appointing a social media manager, they've all been mentioned in previous slides as part of your decision-making process. But here we've broken them down into phases that you can implement into your own next approach. Phase 1, it's all about content strategy. Phase 2 is about branding and tone. Phase 3, resources and management. And phase 4, ethics and privacy consideration. Now, unfortunately, in today's session, we don't have time to cover all of these elements in great detail, but if there's a specific item that you want us to discuss, please let us know at the end of this presentation. So, by defining your goals, audience, and strategies during the early phase of your social media journey, you're setting your research group up for success. Now, let's explore the current nature of social media and how we can use it effectively in today's digital landscape. Now, if you're an active user of social media, you might have seen this meme circulating in the past few years. And I think Olivia and I can both agree that it perfectly sums up what maintaining a professional social media account feels like in 2024. With all of the platform changes, viral trends, and also, of course, algorithm impacts, it's very easy to feel overwhelmed and then get swept up in all of the frenzy. But we are here to remind you that it's not all bad. First, let's understand what's currently happening. So, organic reach is declining across all platforms. What does this exactly mean? So, on social media, organic reach is the number of people who see your content through unpaid distribution. That is, without you having to spend money to reach a specific target audience. In the early days, this is pretty simple. The rules are if you post something, it will appear in people's feed who followed you. But as the amount of social content being posted every day grew exponentially, the traditional rule could not simply keep up. So we're going to present you with the following two scenarios using Facebook. Scenario number 1. On average, when a user follows several accounts, the system will store that information so that the next time they log in, they will be presented with 1,500 stories and posts related to the accounts they followed. This is on average. Now, imagine what happens when that user follows a bunch of other accounts. Scenario number 2. Facebook reported that for those users, the platform would display up to 15,000 stories and posts every single time they log in. With this in mind, what are the chances that they will see much alone remembers our posts? I would say very slim. Besides Facebook, the other social media platforms that we've mentioned throughout our presentation also use algorithms that define how organic content is distributed and who gets to see your point. Basically speaking, we're all under the mercy of the algorithm. But what's causing this decline? So based on our experience and knowledge, here are the 3 most significant reasons: engagement, pay-to-play, and short-form videos. Let's break them down. The first one is about engagement. Gone are the days when posts appeared in chronological order, let alone you will be able to see the accounts you followed. Platforms now prioritize content that drives engagement. But you need to keep in mind, when we say engagement, there are actually two subjects that plays a big role in the whole interaction: the audience and you who are running the account. So it's quite simple. The audience role is to interact with the post that you put out. So giving likes, comments, sharing, and also saving your posts would boost the engagement from their part. But again, engagement isn't just about what users do with your posts. It's also how you respond. Replying to comments, answering questions, or even starting conversation will boost your visibility in the eyes of the algorithm. A little tip from us, we encourage you to interact through your posts wherever possible. Nowadays, since engagement has become this hot topic among all platforms, the platforms itself has equipped users with specific tools and features, such as, for an example, let's take Instagram. When you're posting something in your story, now you have this feature to include an interactive sticker. So you can ask a question attached to that story. And when audience click on it, they can easily reply. So even a short form of interaction could still count as engagement in the eyes of algorithm. Keep in mind, social media is no longer just about posting, it's about connecting. So the more online activity you and your community have, the more likely your content is to reach new audiences. The second reasoning of the decline is the implementation of the pay-to-play model. Now, you may remember this from Olivia's previous section when she was covering Facebook. Platforms nowadays operate on pay-to-play model, especially Facebook and Instagram, so Meta products. Now, this means that your posts are less likely to reach your audience unless you spend money to boost or advertise them. Even for nonprofit organizations or academic institutions, this model is becoming the norm. It's quite simple to understand the model itself. The more money you spend, the higher the reach your post is going to have. But it's not all bad. Again, there are some benefits to it when it comes to research and sharing your work. For example, if you are trying to put out a study recruitment advertisement, using this specific model will help you reach a large number of people, along with the specific criteria that you need in a study participant. Or if you're hosting events, especially in more local communities, again, using this model will target your ideal audience more precisely. And so the next reasoning as to the decrease of reach is the rise of short-form videos. Short-form videos are dominating social media. If you are an avid user, you will start to notice it more and more. Regardless of what platform you're on, you will see more short-form videos nowadays popping up. Especially platforms with a strong visual focus like Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Videos in general have a greater chance of receiving a high number of reach and views, especially if they are well produced, following trends, and also are relevant to current issues. For researchers, this is an opportunity to showcase your work in a creative manner. Even a short 30-second clip of explaining a study's impact or behind-the-scenes lab footage, it can outperform a standard text-based post. And then approach it. If you are considering of making short-form videos as part of your content strategy, make sure you keep them concise, visually engaging, and also relevant to your audience interests. Before I move on, I would like to acknowledge that this is definitely not an easy task. We totally understand the struggle behind creating a good short video, especially for research groups. Communicating scientific findings to a large demographic while keeping it engaging, it requires a lot of practice and it forces you to think outside of the box. But there is a lot of untapped potential in the scientific space in terms of short form videos. So it's never too late to start. Social media is always changing, but by staying aware of platform changes and trends, you can adapt and make the most of these shifts. Next, let's look ahead and how we can prepare for future trends and build strategies that keep us ahead of the curve.
Amazing. Thank you, Anna, for that fantastic section. So now we're going to look ahead into the world of how generative AI has influenced and changed the world of social media and is really integrated into each platform in the ways in which we create communication content and material. Gen AI's ability to create original content has revolutionized social media strategies. In research, Gen AI can swiftly produce high quality posts, visuals, captions, and infographics based on complex data. And some strengths and weaknesses is AI's tools like ChatGPT, Microsoft's Copilot, Grammarly, Meta AI Assistant really streamline content creation. You can use it to edit grammar, rephrase wording, correct spelling mistakes, punctuation, just reword for conciseness. And Canva is another really great tool that both of our institutions use, as they offer pre-made graphic templates and visual aids that you can kind of use, and they're pre-made, and you can really personalize with your branding colors and feel, and you can always integrate a couple graphic templates together. And AI can analyze engagement data as well to identify effective strategies by understanding patterns and likes, shares, comments, and research teams can better connect with their audience. But it's crucial to balance automation with authenticity and ensuring that AI generated content maintains quality and avoiding awkward phrasing or context errors if we're using any of the AI ones for writing. We recommend always checking the work you're receiving by AI so it matches your standard and quality of work that you're wanting to publish in your research or in social media.
So, what did we learn from all of this? We learned that social media is constantly evolving. What's relevant today may not be tomorrow. The unfortunate news is that some of the content that we talked about today might not even be relevant in the next 6 months. But there is one thing that we are certain of. If you have a good understanding of the foundation, you would be able to analyze patterns and then anticipate platform changes, thus creating content that stays ahead of the curve. You can do this by first experimenting with new tools and strategies. We really recommend you to not hesitate when trying different things, adopting short-form videos, or even using AI analytics. It could lead to unexpected successes for your group. When you do try new approaches, make sure you take the time and spend the effort to analyze how they perform and how they help you achieve your goal. The second one is to develop your skills. Join webinars and workshops for skill development, both within your institution and through external resources. If you're not in the position to join these type of events, there are a lot of resources published officially by social media companies like Facebook, Hootsuite, Instagram that are available online. Social media evolves quickly, and so should your skills. And then the third one is to embrace change. There is nothing that we could do to prevent change. So the best way is to adapt and move along with them. By staying curious, flexible, and open to change, your efforts will be reflected on your content.
Beautiful. And to really think about everything that we've talked today, while the tools and trends may change, the opportunity to connect, share, and inspire remains at the heart of social media. So really connecting on a personal level, celebrating all the research and success. It can be a very incredible tool to showcase the amazing work happening in your research lab, institute, and organization.
Looking ahead, we encourage all of you to explore new ideas, adapt to trends, and always think creatively about how we can better share our stories with the community. If you're interested in amplifying your research through your social media, please reach out to us, either the BCCHR comms or the WHRI comms, to book a one-on-one consultation. So yeah, thank you very much, everybody, for joining us for this presentation. Now that we've explored the key aspects of social media, we will now begin to open the floor for questions. I will pass this back on to Nicole and Alan.
Thank you so much, Olivia and Anna. Appreciate the humor. We're all in this together. There is our first question in the Q&A from Oakley. I was wondering what your thoughts were on Blue Sky as a platform, and if you thought that large institutions like BCCHR and WHRI will start to utilize it as a means of connecting with the community. Oh, Oakley, have you been listening to our meetings? Alan, do you want to start? I think you're more plugged into this than I.
Sure. Yeah, no, that's a great question. I would not be surprised if in the next 6 months or so there is a bit of a migration. I think there's still a bit of a wait and see approach. There's still, for Blue Sky in particular, I think there's still some lingering questions about things like verification. But it's I think to people who do use it, it feels a little bit more like how Twitter used to be. And I think we are seeing quite a big exodus from X to Blue Sky in particular. So I wouldn't be surprised if something like that does happen. Um, I kind of get the feeling that some people are basically just waiting for the signal to maybe jump from X in particular, as it is um, increasingly kind of negative in its conversations and engagement. Um, and one thing that I think might happen is we could see a sort of spiraling effect as more and more of the people that you may want to connect with over Twitter and X. And at one point, when it was Twitter, it was a really great way to share, in particular, research news, because that's where a lot of other researchers were. It's a great way to have a conversation. You could share it, and um, that kind of news would be received well by people who are kind of in your circle. But as more and more people leave Twitter and X, which I think is becoming apparent, the ratio between people you want to connect with versus the kind of engagement you don't want to have is getting worse and worse. So it's kind of the experience isn't as great. Not to say it's not still occasionally worth using, but I think it's certainly trending in that direction. Whether or not it goes to Blue Sky or Mastodon or a few other contenders, I think is still to be seen. But I wouldn't be surprised if in the next few months that becomes an item.
Yeah, and I know, Alan, correct me if I'm wrong here. One of the things that I've heard in terms of signaling is that, back in the day, Twitter did used to be a space to form connection and collaboration. It was also a great tool to increase the citation of your publication, as well as get KT attention and media attention. And so one of the things that I know has been discussed is like really kind of looking to see whether media folks, news, or like journalists and stuff, and taking a bit of a cue from them if they're no longer kind of in that space, and just checking in where they might go.
No, absolutely. That's a great point. One of the things that was attractive about Twitter is that that's where a lot of journalists were. And sometimes you could literally just, hey, we got a new paper, and just tag journalists, and it might get pickup. But that's less and less the case. In fact, I think there are now, I'm starting to see journalists who, when they're featured on the news, their little cryon has their Blue Sky address and not their Twitter one. So I think if journalists start switching en masse, you could see a quite significant change. And I believe um, in Europe, there's kind of a large union of journalists who have just decided that they're no longer going to post on X. So I think the migration is happening.
Wow. So stay tuned. Maybe there's a part 2 to this conversation in February. Sarah is up next. For content management, I wonder if BCCHR staff have access to resources or tools to support our social media strategy, e.g. marketing, automation. I'm not totally sure. Does this mean like access to like the systems that you need, or like tools and resources that you would need to create your own content management strategy? I wonder if maybe we can let Sarah unmute if she wants to clarify that, or if they want to clarify it further. Got it. So you using the social media platforms on behalf of BCCHR? Anna and Alan, should I pass this over to you?
Sure. I can take this on. So currently we don't have like an SOP, if that's what you were thinking about, Sarah, in terms of social media strategy. But this is why we also recommend that people reach out to us, because we believe that social media strategies are a case-to-case basis. Just because something worked for us doesn't necessarily mean it'll work for you, and vice versa. And so if you would like to book a more personalized meeting with us, Sarah, please feel free to reach out. The email is listed on the screen there. We can talk about different platforms that we're using, like Hootsuite or Canva, that does play such a big role in our social media strategy. So yeah.
I think just to add to that, and Sarah, please do message if I've got the wrong end of the stick on this question. But we also kind of recommend, if you want to say start up a social media strategy, sometimes it's good to start by talking to the relevant communications group. So if you're a BCCHR researcher, talking to us, and sometimes we can sort of put out social media posts on your behalf, so you can gain access to the amount of followers that we have and kind of borrow that built up profile. And then if it becomes something that you feel comfortable with doing regularly on your own, then we can kind of potentially navigate into setting up your own platform or account and really help promote your own posts and share that and link that up to kind of help build that following. But usually it's easier to kind of work with us, maybe not, but we can sort of help post on your behalf if there's something in particular you really want out there. If I've properly understood the question.
Yes, it sounds like you did. Thank you, Alan and Anna. Next question, perfectly segue into from the systems. Does BCCHR, UBC, WHRI have enterprise subscriptions for any of the AI systems that can be used for the pro version? So Canva, ChatGPT, Grammarly, etc. So I think both of us have pro Canva accounts, which do have AI integrated tools within them for use. I know for us, we do have just a limited number of seats that we can offer affiliated research teams to use our pro account. What we do with most folks is say, you're welcome to take a seat here, and then please factor in the cost to your grant applications so that you can then be empowered to pay for your own pro account on the go forward. I think I would just say that before I pass it over to Alan and others to speak to it, the kind of enterprise account and system level stuff with the AI, in particular tools like ChatGPT. We have a shared digital health research team as well. So Beth Payne leads that, maybe on the call right now. This is something that I know is kind of a topic of conversation, not just because of the tools that it facilitates, but also our role in kind of helping AI do better. And if we had our own space to do that in, could that help? Alan, do you have anything else to add?
No, I think you pretty much covered it. I think the only thing I would say, again, not sure if I've totally understood is this question, but in terms of subscriptions, a lot of these, or at least we're very familiar with Canva. The seats you add to your account does factor into pricing. So it's kind of, we have seats for our team, so we can kind of assist with anyone who uses it, but it's not as if we have like an institutional wide account that everyone can use. But yeah, that's the one we typically use as Canva.
Okay, Anna, thank you for your presentation, Anna and Olivia. What about Pinterest? Have you used it to connect with the audience? Any particular disadvantages to look out for? I can just do a quick answer here. I think Anna and Olivia mentioned, they were presenting on our current active social media channels. We just opened up Pinterest because there's been some kind of rumblings that youth are kind of using Pinterest. And so we're actually exploring more of like a use case for it. So TBD. And I'm happy to share our experiences of that. At this point, I think our thought is really to use it as a way of sharing infographics from some of the study results that we support. Not sure if others want to contribute to that.
I think you have more experience with Pinterest than I. It's not something I've looked into a few others, but Pinterest is not one of them. So I think that pretty much sums it up.
Yeah, it is. I will say, Anna, it is a very interesting place. Just the amount of misinformation that I saw from just typing in women's health as like a keyword search was quite astonishing and slightly concerning. This is for the BCCHR folks. Would you like us to tag your BCCHR account when we share posts? I mean, I think yes. Yes?
I'm struggling to think of a reason why you wouldn't.
Yeah.
I think just in general, anything you have to say about your research or your work, please do feel free to tag us. It means that means that we can see it and we can share it. And as Anna and Olivia were speaking to earlier, the engagement level is something that is being factored into. So having tagging other accounts and having a kind of like congratulations on the paper or whatever the research might be, that kind of engagement also helps boost the post. So almost never a bad idea to tag us. Uh, uh, the only thing I can think of is if what you're posting is really kind of a more personal opinion style um, post. Again, that even then it's not necessarily a bad thing. But one thing we kind of didn't really get into here is personal use of social media and etiquette there. So this is a slightly different conversation, but I would just say, especially these days, if there's something you want to share personally, personal opinion, I just think one thing to always bear in mind is people will find out where you work. So if it's something you wouldn't want your work to know or be linked with, then maybe just consider that. And that's kind of my little tip on there. But otherwise, please, if it's to do with research, absolutely feel free to tag us.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks, Alan. And I'd say for any of those folks who are connected to the WHRI, please do tag us as well. We're at Women's Research on just about everything. Rosie, hi Rosie. Are there any resources or tips for digital accessibility or things to consider regarding accessibility of different social media strategies? I mean, in terms of accessibility, I mean, there's kind of certain basic principles that I think we've talked about, plain language, inclusive language, and really framing it within sort of like health literacy levels so that I think when you use plain language, it also enables better a lot of those AI-based or language translation tools that people can use if it's not if it's English to something else can help. And I know less about social media, but you know, within some of the guides or products that we send out, just making sure there's alt text on images. So for anyone using a screen reader, that it's super clear what it is that is kind of in their frame at that moment. But I'll open the floor to the other presenters.
I think you pretty much captured it there, Nicole. I think the only other thing I would say is that the alt text use, so when you add an image and then you're kind of encouraged to add text to describe what the image is, as mentioned, for people who maybe have problems with visibility and use a screen reader. It's also just a great way to maybe add additional information, especially on platforms like X, where you don't have a high character count to work with. Sometimes you can actually squeeze in a bit more info into the alt text. That's just another kind of little tip.
Yeah, I might sound outdated, but I know that it used to actually help with like search engine optimization too, because you can add in certain keywords to some of the descriptions, which is always helpful. All right, I will do a pregnant pause. That was a great round of questions, everyone. Thank you. And I believe, so this was an off-cycle lunch and learn, and in January we will be back to regular programming. So it'll be January 15th. And we are going to have the IRIS team come and present an overview of services. So the Red Cap team, the behind the scenes folks who do all of that research support that's so critical to what we do in our research space. So please join us on January 15th for that. And just want to say a huge thanks to Anna and Olivia and Alan. It's so nice being connected. And I think to know that we're not in this space alone as we go into the sometimes dark feeling social media landscape.
Great. Thanks so much, everyone, and great questions. Those are really good questions. So.
Yeah, thank you.